Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my mid-year check-in because it is officially July 2nd, which is the official midway point of the year. So I thought I would do a check-in of every single book I've read so far this year in 2024. I hope this one is more in-depth than my last year's one, as I now have a book journal that I keep all of my thoughts about each book in, and I also have my Goodreads open in front of me this time. So hopefully it will go really well. So I'm going to start, this is all in chronological order, apart from I've put like series together so I can just talk about them as a series. So we're going to start off in January, where I read 3 books, 4 if you include the poetry anthology, and those 4 books were the Caraval series and The Orange and Other Poems by Wendy Cope. So I'm going to first talk about the Caraval series. So this series I gave 4 stars overall. Each book got 4 stars. It is such a good series and it's such a good trilogy that I didn't think I was actually ever going to read, but because I loved Once Upon a Broken Heart so much and that trilogy, I really got into the Caraval trilogy and the world dynamic, and also Jax is in these ones, so that was a good reason to read them. But I said that Caraval is based around a circus. And our characters' POV change. So in book 1 we follow Scarlet, and then in 2 and 3 we follow Donatella. This book specifically I really loved. I loved the romance between Julian and Scarlet. I found it really interesting, and I also liked the fact that she was part of the games, and it was enjoyable to read and it was easy to follow, and I think they're very accessible books for anyone who wants to get into fantasy. It's definitely a great beginning book for anyone who wants to join the fantasy realm, because it's not high fantasy, it's not difficult to follow, and world building is pretty easy, especially if you've read Once Upon a Broken Heart. But I suggest reading these ones first and then reading next trilogy, but they aren't in no way like you need to read one to read the other. They can be read differently, it's just they're both in the same world, and this one comes before Once Upon a Broken Heart. And then when I got to book 2 and book 3, I was 100% already invested in the story. Book 2 was better than book 1 in my opinion, and I think it's because I preferred Donatella, and I think she was more of an interesting character, and her and Dante's, that's his name, romance was great, and I really loved it, and I loved the tropes that were in these two. Also seeing Jax again was such a bonus. He is my icon. I really loved him from Once Upon a Broken Heart, and overall the plot and the pacing was better, and I loved the overall fantasy idea of the books, with the tarot cards kind of thing, which kind of follows into Once Upon a Broken Heart and that trilogy. And book 3, the angst and the betrayal and the plot was really twisty and turny, and I really loved it. Also the book had such good quotes where there was like yearning and all of this, and the multiple POVs in this book really set it aside from the other ones, because it meant that you got different viewpoints throughout the series last book, which made it for a more enjoyable read overall. I didn't really have much to say on The Orange by Wendy Cope, just because I don't really like to rate poetry, because I think it's more of a personal thing, but I did really enjoy it, and I did really like reading all of the poems, so I do recommend this book very much. Moving on from the books I read in January, we move on to February, where I read 3 books. These 3 books were We Were Liars, a book I rated 3.5 stars. I rated it 3.5 stars, but I do have a reading video on this, so I won't go into too much detail because you can go watch my full review of it over there. But I really did find this book interesting. I think there is a lot to be said in it, that it's a good quality book, but I think you can also look at it in a perspective of it's not the best. And for this amount of book, I don't really think it did enough or moved enough, and the plot twist was a plot twist, but I kind of already guessed it, so I will leave my full review for you to read in my for you to watch in my reading vlog of We Were Liars. But after I read We Were Liars, I read these two mammoths of books, which are Binding and Keeping 13 by Chloe Walsh. I rated the first book a 4.5 stars and the second book a 3.75 stars. My reasoning for this is quite fair, but I don't really want to get into it too deeply because I don't want to spoil the second book for anyone. I said this book was very close to a 5-star, but it fell short in some of the scenes. Johnny and Sharon are peak romance, and I really love their relationship, and they are so cute in all of the stages from friendship to where they become girlfriend and boyfriend. Shannon was sometimes a bit too quirky for me, but I did love the plot and the rugby. It was really nice to see a rugby romance, especially when I am in a country that is so obsessed with rugby. Not Ireland, but you know. As always, the side characters were amazing, and it did feel like the 800 pages was worth it, and that the pacing was good for all of these. The tropes that we used were perfect and the pacing was good. My favourite character was Gibbsy, obviously because he's the sarcastic funny friend on the side, and I was very happy that there was no smut to read in this one because I did not want to read those scenes because they're minors. So yeah, that's what I rated this one. I did really enjoy this one, and I do recommend if you were looking for a good romance, this one's perfect. I read this in like 3 days. It was so good, and it did keep me on the edge of my seat because it's not just romance, but romance is like the driving force of it. And then with this one, I said this book felt a little drawn out. The relationship was super cute, but the plot twists were too many. Johnny and Shannon were still adorable, and Gibbsy and Claire are my forever couple, even though they're not technically together ever, but I love them so much. The friend group is adorable, and I really love the connections that are created and enhanced in this book, and the pacing and the plot was okay. Again, it did feel a little dragged out. It felt like it was trying to compete with the first book. I loved the picturing of Johnny's house and the relationship that Johnny ends up having with Shannon Brothers. I think it is such a cute, wholesome image that you get from it, and I really feel like these two books are books that you can very clearly picture everything that you can see. I mean, I don't have difficulty imagining things, but I feel like this one was the most vibrant imagination I've had of a romance specifically. The smut was bearable. There is smut in this one, so if you do not want to read smut, there is smut in this one. I don't know the specific chapters, you will have to look them up, but there is smut in Keeping 13. The ending is very cute and is satisfying, and I'm glad Johnny did what he did, and you will understand if you've read this book, but it is very good, and I did enjoy reading it, but I'm not gonna lie, I do forget the plot because it was 800 pages and I read it in February. So those are all the books I read in February. So far this year, this has been my most read year, so I've read the most books halfway through the year now than I ever have before. And that may just be because I've been having a good reading year, or it's just that I'm more focused on reading, I don't know. But it definitely was a very good time for my reading. Before we go back on to my very long list of books I read for the rest of the year, in March I read 5 books, and that is not just up to my personal reading. I did have to read Regeneration by Pat Barker and Othello for my English course that I am doing. I count these because I have had to read them, and I've multiple times read this one because there are so many tabs. I don't know if you can tell, but there are. This book is heavily annotated. And Othello I count because A, it's a Shakespeare, and B, I did annotate this one as well. I really loved Pat Barker's Regeneration. I think it is such a unique perspective on war, and I think the characters are used very smartly as a vessel for the themes that Pat Barker is trying to display with this book. It is one of the only literatures I've ever read about World War I that was set away from the front line, and I think that was really crucial to the idea that Pat Barker was trying to get across with this book. The pacing was very good and very strong, and the characters are just crazily insane in a good way, and that's not because they're in a mental hospital. It's because they are very well written, and I think that is due to the fact that most of the characters are real, so there were real case files that Pat Barker used for most characters, and obviously Owen, Rivers, Sassoon were all real people in the war at the time, so there was a lot in their writings that she could use to reflect in the book itself. And then obviously Shakespeare is always Shakespeare. Othello was one of the more interesting books that I read by Shakespeare. I think Iago is my favourite character, and even though he is the villain, it's because he just shows his complete control and manipulation as like almost a puppet master over all of the other characters. But it's not my favourite Shakespeare by any means at all. I think this book, you can tell it's written when it is, especially with how it deals with racism, which I think is something that this book is very good at pointing out, but it does not do it in the right way because it's like the 1800s, so it's a very good book. Again, I didn't rate either of them because they were for my English coursework, so yeah, you're not getting a rating for those. But after I finished those two, I moved on to Bride by Ali Hazelwood. I gave this 2 stars, and I'm not ashamed to admit I gave this 2 stars. It was not good at all in any way. I don't know why I gave it 2 stars. I was feeling quite generous. In actuality, I hate it. I hate the book. Ali Hazelwood is definitely not for me. Their chemistry was literally not a thing, and then it was. The relationship was quite awful, to be honest. It went from they hated each other and it was just a thing of convenience to, oh, let's just have sex constantly and write about it for the rest of the 3/4 of this book. It's funny that I said in my journal that Ali Hazelwood isn't for me, because later in this video I actually very highly rate one of Ali Hazelwood's books, but this one, definitely not for me, okay? If this is your cup of tea, I'm not gonna condemn you, I'm not gonna say you're weird or you're disgusting, because every person for their own, okay? But this one was definitely not for me. The smut is definitely, it's definitely just, yeah, I don't ever have to want to read anything like that ever again. It was giving Wattpad. I mean, the entire book gives Wattpad, okay? And the fantasy aspect of it, the attempted fantasy, or the romantasy that she tries to create is, it's lacking in certain areas, but I do admire the commitment to trying to create a world in which you can see these characters. I just think it wasn't most properly done, and I think that is due to the fact it's quite a short book. Most fantasies are 400 pages, whereas this is like 300, so there definitely needed to be more words and pages in this to be able to properly display what she was talking about. I have heard the word not or mate too many times, and I don't want to read it ever again. I do not recommend this at all if you do not like smart and if you do not like anything vaguely weird, because that was, okay? After reading that spectacle of a book, I moved on to Truly Devious. I rated this 3.5 stars. I struggle to remember half of this book. I just don't know a lot. I don't remember much about it. It was intense and it was scary. I mean, it's not like not good at the point it's trying to create. The setting and the buildings, I love them so much. They remind me of English architecture, so I really enjoyed that kind of setting because it made it familiar to me to create the atmosphere of me being scared. The build-up was great. It fell short for me when there were when the plot twists started to become a bit too much. And also, I'm sorry, if this is, I think this is on the back, people being murdered in this book, all in the same house, I'd have left. I'd have actually left. I do not understand how authors create these worlds where the people stay. I'm gone. I'm leaving the country. I'm not staying anywhere near that school if people are being actively murdered. Yeah, no thanks. No thanks. I choose life. They don't. That's why they keep all dying, okay? I don't care if it's because you're an insanely smart special school. You're still crazy, okay? Yes. This I gave 3.5 stars, not because it was bad, it just wasn't great. So if you like plot twisty, mystery, scary, thrilling books, this might be for you, but it just wasn't for me. So no hard feelings. I I would probably read the second book. I just don't own it, so I haven't. And I won't be desiring it anytime soon. And then, in the grand old month, April, me and Mealy did a readathon, which meant that I read 3 books that month. 2 out of 3 of these books I read in the space of 24 hours. So I believe that my review and reading of the books will never ever ever be the most accurate, because I do just consume them in one. So don't be surprised if you don't agree with my review, but I agree with my review because it's what I think the book deserves. So, I know, we've all been waiting for this, and I'm quite surprised I read it in this video and didn't make an entire video about it myself. But I finally got to the point of reading A Court of Thorns and Roses. I gave it 3 stars. That was quite surprising for me. This book is a fever dream, and I actually remember nothing from it. And that is probably because it was like 3 AM when I was reading it. So I was sleep deprived and won't remember much of it anyway. But Tamlin is an ick. I'm coming out and saying it, okay? Tamlin was an ick, is an ick, will always be an ick. I haven't even read any of the other books, but I know that he's an ick, okay? I don't have to tell anyone that. They should know, okay? And if you don't and you thought Tamlin was good, are we reading the same book? Because I don't think we are. Feyre and Rhysand, they were slaying, and personally Rhysand was trying his hardest to be mysterious, but he wasn't really pulling it off. He reminds me of Damon Salvatore. I don't want to offend any Vampire Diaries girlies, but they give the same vibe, okay? Moody, mysterious, trying too hard, emos with special abilities, okay? Reading this at 4 AM made me retain none of the plot, so I could not tell. If you held me at the edge of the cliff and said, you have to tell me the plot of A Court of Thorns and Roses or I will let go of you, I would die, okay? Because I don't remember a single thing from this plot. I will be falling off the cliff. I literally would fall off. It is 100% romance disguised as a fantasy, and I'm just happy there was no smut. I didn't want to read that, okay? And I probably won't read the others because I don't want to experience that. I've seen the quotes of the whatever the purple book, pink book is called online. No thanks, I'm not reading that. I'm just going to stick with Reddit. I've read the first book, okay? I've earned my trophy. But I'm not saying that I won't ever read any of the books again. I'm not closing a door, okay? I'm just leaving it ajar. I'm gonna shut it too, because for now I'm done with ACOTAR. It can stay in its little box. I'm gonna let it stay there on my shelf. I'm not gonna get rid of it. And I won't think about it again. However, a book that I will think about that I read in this 24-hour readathon forever and ever is Betting on You by Lynn Painter. Guys, we've reached my first 5-star of the year. I loved this book. Charlie, best male character I've read in any romance book ever. Lynn Painter does it again. I'm serious. The rom-com vibes were so cute and the tropes are amazing. Bailey and Charlie are the cutest, and Charlie is seriously what I think is a golden retriever reincarnated as a human. He is adorable, and the Taylor Swift references were amazing, and the modern pop culture references weren't too cringy, which is something that I always find when they try and reference pop culture or anything from my world in their world. No, but this was good. This 10 out of 10. The references were put in purposefully and for good reason, and they didn't make me cry. It may be the sleep deprivation, but this book deserves all the stars. It deserves 6, okay? I read this from about 4 AM to about 10 AM. I don't remember much, but I do remember loving it and giving it 5 stars. So if you want to see my full review of this, go watch the 24-hour readathon, okay? I have made a Pinterest board for this, and it has started a journey of making Pinterest boards for all of my favourite books. So if you want to see that, my Pinterest is linked below. But, yes, Lynn Painter, thank you for blessing us with such an amazing book. I hope you continue to do it for the rest of your life, and that you're eternal, so that I will have them forever and ever and ever, and I become eternal and I can just read them all. Because can we get a betting on you too, or can you make an 1,000-page version? Because I would eat it up. Okay, I would read the entire thing in a day. No joke. But yes, thank you, Lynn Painter. After I finished the 24-hour readathon, as you will have guessed, it was a difficult time because I was sleep deprived, and I genuinely, when I have 24-hour readathon, struggled to read again afterwards. But after I read these two, I read 3 ebooks, okay? So 2 of them are like mini novellas, so I didn't write them as stars, but I do count them towards my goal. So I read Better Than Before and Better Than the Prom. So these are 2 ebooks that are kind of in the whole Better Than Movies, Betting on You universe, and it's really fun because you find out that Charlie from this book is related to Wes in Better Than the Movies. I cried, I sobbed. Knowing that they are in the same universe does make me hopeful that in Nothing Like the Movies, coming out in October the 1st, Lynn, let me get my little grubby hands on it, please. Pretty please, give me, please. I'm so excited, like, you do not understand. I'm very, very excited. But I hope and pray that maybe we get a Charlie crossover with Wes and they all meet and they're all very happily ever after and everyone leaves the book happy, okay? Because I can't go through trauma in those books because I love these two little relationships, and I will cry. I will sob, and I'm not afraid to admit that, okay? I don't think I've rated, oh no, I did rate. Never mind. I rated them both 4 stars. They were good books. I literally sat there and read them both in 20 minutes. Okay, they are little tiny little extracts and I love them so much, and I think they keep a place in my heart, okay? After I read these 2 mini ebooks, I then read Rival Darling, which is a Kindle Unlimited book, and I loved Rival Darling. I think that Rival Darling was a very good book, okay? It was very, very nice. What did I have to say about it? I love ice hockey romances, okay? Do not get me wrong. This book was cringe at times, okay? That's why I gave it 4 stars, but I loved it. It was so cute, and the cinnamon roll, which is Reed Darling, made me giggle because he, again, is this kind of Damon Salvatore type trope that they love whipping out in romance books, where he is trying so hard to be dangerous and mysterious, and his own little brother family is, and not gonna lie, that was the reason they got 4 stars, because it kind of cringed me out. But that didn't stop me from loving it, okay? Sometimes you need a little cringe in your life. And I didn't like the insta-love that happened with them, but that is just personal preference. I prefer slow burn, but I did like the romance, so I'm not complaining. Violet is a girl boss, but by far the best character was her cousin and besties and her overprotective uncle, because they really slayed with that don't go near him, okay? He's bad for you, okay? Absolute icon cousin. I loved him, okay? 10 out of 10 book. That I gave it 4 stars, okay? And I recommend you read it because it's on Kindle Unlimited, so you can get it for free. After I read Rival Darling, it then got to May. And in May, I read 3 books. And again, the reason I read so many books in May was because I did another 24-hour readathon. Because obviously I did, because why wouldn't I? So I started the month with Love Redesigned. I gave this book 3 stars. I don't want to read any smut by Lauren Asher ever again, okay? Lauren Asher, keep that to yourself, sweetie, okay? But I liked the stuff that wasn't smut. I really, really liked their bond. And I liked the whole thing of it wasn't just a romance. It had aspects of grief and healing together and healing separately. And to be fair, I love the trope where the woman and the man are both successful. But I think this is in this one, and I will edit it out if I'm wrong. But I really hated the whole thing of like, he's massive and she's like tiny. Okay, I get it. okay? Please, calm down. It's not that big a deal. Also, for someone who is 5'7" and up, like, I'm tall, okay? I don't want everything to be petite, okay? Can we have some love for the tall girls? No? Okay. I don't have much to say about this book. The plot was good. I liked the premise of the plot. I just didn't like the smut. It actually made me die. I have photos of my friends reading the smut in this book, and it just goes to show that sometimes you get a bit brain rotted because they were looking at it like it was a sin. So that's how I felt about this book. And after I read Love Redesigned, I read the powerful novella. Lauren Roberts, how could you do this to me, girl? Okay, I just want to sit down with you. Let's have a cup of tea in England. Okay, you come to London. I'll sit down with you for a cup of tea, and I'll ask you why. Why did you do this to my girl Adina? Huh? Huh? What did she ever do to you? Because I'm pretty sure she's just a sweet little soul who likes sewing. Okay? 5 stars. 10 out of 10. I don't want to hear anything bad about this book. Okay? I read this extremely quickly, and I loved every second of it. The quotes, perfect. The romance trope. Oh, okay? Mac, I would let that man do anything to me. No, I wouldn't. I did not say that off the record. Okay, guys? I love him, though. Mwah. Okay, 10 out of 10. The sticky buns, I want whatever they're eating. Okay, they were living their life. And then Lauren Roberts ruined it all. Girl, I need a chat, okay? Me and you sit down, have a coffee, okay? Tell me why you did this. I need a good explanation. Reckless, but it'd give me a good reason. Because it's being delivered to me tomorrow when I film this, so July 3rd. It better be good, or I will cry again and mourn again. Okay? Thanks, girl. Okay, now that review is over, we get to the point where I did another 24-hour readathon because I just hate myself, clearly. Okay, I read these books in the same day. Yeah. Do you know what I did after I finished these 2 books? Read another one, okay? It was very exciting. So the first book I read in my 24-hour readathon, I finished reading, was The Prisoner's Throne. I gave this 4.75 stars. And the reason for that is, I love the Cruel Prince series. I am a yapper about the Cruel Prince series, and I will not get into it now because this already long video will become double the length, okay? But this book was a perfect conclusion to a perfect series, apart from the fact that sometimes I just thought it dragged on, or that the plot didn't really do as much as I was hoping it would. But apart from that, solid book. Again, I read it as I was sleep deprived in a tent outside, so I don't really remember much of it, but I do remember loving the vibes, and that's all that matters, okay? I recommend that you read the Cruel Prince series, and I always will recommend people to read the Cruel Prince series because, again, accessible fantasy is my fave thing in the entire world, and this sums it up perfectly. Okay? Great book. It was this close to a 5-star, but it just wasn't there. And I know that sounds really nitpicky and going, Meredith, you shouldn't be giving things 0.75 stars. A, it's my rating. I don't care if you think that's too specific. B, it wasn't 5 stars, and I know when it feels like a 5 stars. And that wasn't one, but it was this close. Okay, there were aspects of it where I did feel like it was a 5-star, but it wasn't fully, okay? After I finished reading that one at 3 AM in a gazebo, I picked up Check and Mate by Ali Hazelwood. Now, Ali Hazelwood managed to surprise me with this one, and I gave it 4.25 stars. I know. I went from giving it 2 stars, right, to nearly a 5-star. With Checkmate, and I think that is personally down to the fact that this book is just better, okay? Chess became interesting again, okay? I used to sit there and play chess sometimes, not as good as the people in this book, but I used to play chess, okay? Mallory is my queen. She has things to work out and isn't just obsessed with Nolan, okay? And also, the little rival at the beginning, yes, I'm eating that up, and the slow burn, yes, thank you. And also, there is no smut. I know, ladies and gentlemen, Ali Hazelwood wrote a book where there is no smut. It's implied, don't get me wrong, but no smut. okay? 4.25 stars. And if you want to see a more in-depth review or me reading both of these, then please go ahead and watch my 24-hour readathon that went up. It's my most recent video before this one, okay? It's like 24. It's called 24 Hours Outside. I also put it here, okay? Because I love you guys, okay? After I read Check and Mate, I've caught up to myself here. The last book I read is Just for the Summer. I rated this book 4 stars. I love this book. I think it was so enticing. I really loved the plot, and I really, really, really love the characters and the pacing. I think the idea behind it is so unique and funny that it really made me very happy, okay? I don't think you understand. Emma and Justin, forever and ever. You cannot tell me they will not be soulmates in every universe, because they are. Okay, I don't want to hear it. They are soulmates. What are you talking about? They are literally soulmates, okay? I loved reading their romance while also combating the issues they were having on their own and healing on their own. And the bit at the end, which broke my heart, I knew needed to happen. And I'm happy it happened. And I'm happy Abby Jimenez is someone who recognises that romance is not the only point of a book, and that she shows true female girl bossery, okay? Because that's what that book was, which is why I rated it so highly. I'm pretty sure I gave it 4.5 stars. I love that book, and I hope that I can read more Abby Jimenez and that it makes me as happy as that book, because I really, really loved it. And Justin is my queen. I love him, okay? Okay, now I've caught up with myself. I read that, and now it is, oh my god, wait. Guys, I read all of these books in June. I didn't read them in May. I didn't realize I hadn't updated this. So it says that it's June 2nd. It's not June 2nd, it's July 2nd. So I need to update this. But I read from The Prisoner's Throne to now is June, apart from the book I'm about to show you, which is my current read. So please ignore me. Okay, that was all June. Anyway, my current read is Dance of Thieves. I'm literally not that far in, so I can't really talk about it, but I am loving it, okay? Eating it up. So, if you enjoyed today's video, please like and subscribe so you can see more of my content. If you have any ideas that you want to see me do, please comment them below. And I hope you have a really lovely day or night, depending on where you are. And I hope you enjoyed watching today's video. I hope it was somewhat interesting. I know that if you're not really a watcher of my channel, it won't be the most appealing thing in the entire world, but if you did watch it, thank you so much for getting to the end. I will see you all next time. I'm going to try and upload more, as now I don't have exams on my mind and summer is coming up. So please bear with as I try and upload more regularly. But I hope you enjoyed today's video. I love you all. Bye!